I'm studying the skeleton. So I'm going to make the skeleton to better understand the skeleton, and then we're going to make a lot of muscles out of Play-Doh. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Welcome to class. Now, backbone. I'm not going to build a vertebrae, or vertebra. I don't know the word for single backbone. Every single backbone. So I'll just build one to like see the shape, yeah? And then for the rest, I'll just do a little like string thing, if that makes sense. So to start, every backbone, it's kind of like the shape of, it looks like a chicken's foot, honestly. So we have the body, which is like a little, like a big kind of flat area. And then you have the part that looks like toes, which are called the posterior process, spinous process, I think. Yeah, spinous process when it's in the back. And then you also have superior and inferior process that stop each backbone from like, they kind of prevent each other from moving too much. In all the wrong areas. But yeah, that's about the shape of a backbone. Hello, people. But now I'm just gonna make an approximation of the spine because I don't feel like building an entire like 33 different little backbones and putting them all together. Also, the very top backbone is called the atlas, and the second backbone is called the axis. They have like special names, but then the rest of them don't have special names, just those two. Hi. If you are new, this is I'm just studying, but this isn't usually like if you're expecting a science channel or something, this isn't a science channel, just so you know. But glad to have you anyway. So we're gonna pretend that this is the spine, and I'm gonna add a bunch of like little things to be all the backbones. And so there's 5 different regions of the spine. At the top you have the cervical region, and then that's like this part of your spine, the very top. And then you have the thoracic region, which is where your ribs connect to your backbone. And then you have the lumbar region, which is like the lower back. And then the sacral region, that's like between your hip bones. And then at the very end, you have the coccygeal region, which is like your tailbone. So additionally, the back has like different curves. So it kind of looks like 2 letter S's stacked on top of each other. So obviously this is just an approximation, yeah. But there's our backbone. So now I'm gonna build the hip bones, and then I'll do the femur and the fibia and the tibia. No, the tibia and the fibula. And then we will do an approximation of the foot, but I'm not building every tiny little foot bone because again, that's a lot. Okay, so you know what? I'll go ahead and yeah, okay, femur time. So oh look, the femur's as long as the backbone. That's a bit inaccurate. But this is just for study purposes, so it's okay. Yeah, I'll put the femur, I'll make it about this. Okay, so that's just like our base for the femur, right? And then if you've seen any picture of the hip joint or study this like in school at all, you know that the hip is like a ball and socket joint because it kind of goes like this. This is like the hip and this is the femur, and it like can rotate and go all sorts of directions. It's a very like flexible joint. So this right here is called the head of the femur, And that like spherical looking part is the ball part of the ball and socket of your hip joint. So that's a little bit, yeah, I'd say that there, that looks more like a proper femur. So then there's a part of the femur called the trochanters. They're called a greater and a lesser trochanter, but honestly, in my opinion, they all look like they're part of the same structure. Anyway, it kind of looks like this rectangle that wraps around it in the back. So this is what it looks like from the back. And then from the front, it looks like that. And so here you have the greater trochanter, and here you have the lesser trochanter. Yeah, once again, a bit off, but you know, it's just for study purposes. So then also in the back, you have something called the linea aspera, which is like a thin little like line that is raised on the back of the muscle and or on the back of the bone and your muscles attached to it. So that's gonna be the linea aspera, that little ridge right there. And then at the bottom of the femur, you have these two round things called condyles. They're pretty, yeah, just round, and that is part of your knee joint. They kind of like roll along the tibia bone to, yeah, make the knee move basically. So I'm gonna add that. I'm just gonna make two little like spheres and put it at the bottom of the femur right here. And so this is the front. This is the back. So you guys are looking at the front. So this side here, the outside of your leg, that's called the lateral condyle. And then this side here, the inside of your leg, this side is the medial side. So this is the medial condyle. And medial sounds like middle is like the midline of your body. That's how you can remember that. So then on top of these, you have these things called epicondyles. So just little protrusions on top of the condyles. And yeah, I think this is a bit, let me just smush it down a little bit to make it look more accurate. Condyles, once again, just protrusions from the epicondyle, just like a protrusion from the regular condyle, and also you really see those like from the front, whereas for the back, you more see just like the regular condyles. So that's the femur. Now I'm going to build the hips, and it would be very nice if I could just not run out of Play-Doh, but I probably will. Also, I'm only gonna build like one hip, you know, and I'll do an approximation for the other one because I'm not trying to like build all the muscles on like every single side. I'm just doing one. And so right here what I'm doing is just making like a approximation for the tailbone, because that's part of the hip structure. They're all like together, you know what I mean? So your hip bone in a child, they actually have like 3 pairs of hip bones. So like 6 bones in total. But then when you grow up, each of the 3 bones on each side, they fuse together. And so you end up with just 1 pair of hip bones. But it's actually 3 bones fused together. So I'm going to make all of those. So the first one is called the ilium. And if you look at a picture of the hips, you'll notice like the top of it kind of looks like this, kind of like a heart. Well, that part, like the top of the heart, that's the ilium. It's like when you put your hands on your hips, that's what you are putting your hands on. So it's kind of like round, you know? Yeah, basically just the shape of a heart, like half of a heart. So I'm cutting out some Play-Doh right here. And so some like landmarks on this bone, you have the iliac crest, which is like kind of a protrusion like on top of it. And then you have the iliac spine, the superior iliac spine that is, which is kind of along the side of it. And then there's this little, I'm sorry, you can't even see, this little dip in the hip bone, and then it comes out, protrudes again, and that is called the in case I got it wrong, this is the superior because it is higher. This is the inferior iliac spine because it is lower. And then there's kind of this like cup-shaped portion on the back because this bone and the 3 other bones fuse together to make like this, you know, socket for the femur, but we'll get to that. So this is the first hip bone. The second hip bone is called the ischium, and that one is kind of like in the back. It's behind the other 2 bones. So honestly, the ischium, it kind of just looks like this kind of like a letter L almost. And then at the kind of corner of that, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, my sister needs me. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. You need me now? Okay, I'll be there in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna have to take a break in like 1 minute to take some food out of the oven, but let's see if we can finish the bone. So this like protrusion here is called the ischial tuberosity, and that's like when you sit down, that's what you're sitting on. So that's kind of in the back, and it also connects. It connects to this like socket part here. So there. That's like the back of the hip, and that's like the front of the hip. And then the final bone is called the pubis. That's the one that's in the front of the ischium, and so that one also kind of just looks like the letter L, although once again I'm not the greatest at making it. And they also like all fit together to make that socket right there, so I'm gonna connect it. And then right here in the middle, gosh, it is so hard to make, but they all like come together. So the hip bone kind of looks something like that, right? And then this big hole right here is called the obturator foramen, and that is where some of your nerves come out of the back, and they go through that hole, and yeah. So I have to go take some stuff out of the oven, so I'm gonna have to mute this and go take care of that. But before I do that, again, this is like our slightly more accurate, you know, hip bone. Here it is from the front. But just to make the other one easier and, you know, not waste time, I'm just gonna we're gonna call this the other hip bone just so that we have like something, you know? So, okay, now I'm gonna go see if the cake is done. I brought you back on a Let's see the cake. I would say it's not done. It's not coming out there clean. The cake is, I don't think it's quite done. So my sister will put the cake back in for a couple minutes. Oh, and there's my alarm telling me to go check on the cake, but I guess I didn't have it set to the right time. Okay, back to class. We're gonna do the tibia. Let me pull up my picture of it. Okay, the tibia. That one's a little tougher for me to understand because I haven't spent as much time studying it. Also, this is all the purple Play-Doh I have left, so we're gonna go with another color now. Blue. I love new Play-Doh right when it's perfectly like out of the thing. Okay, so the tibia is this bone right here in the front of your leg. It's the one that bears your weight when you walk. So here's the start of it, but I can't make it thicker than the femur, so I'm trying to make it thinner now. Yeah. Here's the base for our tibia. So then, just like the femur has its medial condyle and its lateral condyle, the tibia also has condyles. So we're gonna give it 2 condyles. And then it also has these tuberosities. So in the front of the tibia, we have something just called the tibial tuberosity. So that goes in front right there. And then on the side of the tibia, specifically the, I think it's the lateral side. It looks like the lateral side because the fibula is lateral. Yeah, so on the lateral side, you have another tubercle called Gerdy's tubercle. And tubercle is just like a protrusion. So this tibial tuberosity right here, if you put your hand right on your knee and you slide it down and there's just this bump right here under your knee, that's the tibial tuberosity. So then the condyles of the femur and the condyles of the tibia, they kind of roll and glide along each other, and this is how your knee moves. Now in front of this joint, we have the patella, the knee bone, which literally is just gonna look like a little blob. It's kind of like round and then a little pointy. So we have here the condyles connect. That's the knee joint, right? That's the knee joint, and then the patella goes in front. Like that. There's the knee. Okay, and then at the bottom of the tibia, there is a structure called the malleolus, and it is the medial malleolus because we also have like a lateral malleolus. So yeah, it's just like this kind of round structure, and then it goes down at the bottom. So, and let me make sure I did it on the right side. If that's the knee, then it has to be on the inside. So yeah, right there it goes down. And now the fibula doesn't actually connect with, it is the fibula. Yes, the fibula doesn't connect with your knee, but it does connect with your tibia and helps like keep the strain off of it. And also, if you ever like whack your ankle, like if you ever gotten whacked just right here in the ankle by like a scooter or something, and it really, really, really hurts, that is the tibia that you actually whacked. So let me build a tibia right here. I'm sorry, let me build a fibula. It's the fibula, not the tibia. Ugh. Do not take me for, I'm just studying myself, so, don't take me as, help on your test, okay? I'm just trying to learn this stuff, too. So, we have the fibula, and we have the head of the fibula, where it kind of protrudes to the outside, and it connects here under the tibia, and then we also have, it extends down this way into something called the lateral malleolus. And that's also, again, like your ankle, you whack it there. It hurts. And then, as you can see, because this is Play-Doh, the bones are kind of just stuck together, but in your actual leg, they are connected by a membrane called the interosseous membrane. So yeah, that's the knee joint. And then I just heard the oven timer go off again, so I gotta go take care of the cake, and I will be back in a minute.